Good morning. Oh, that was so wonderful. My name is Sharonda Almeida. I'm the director of the Mel King Institute, and it's so great to see everybody here and to know that there are folks at home that are also watching us and joining for this celebration. This is our 13th annual breakfast. Wow, we made it through the storm, and it's so good to see everybody. Let's just give a round of applause because it's been some years. So I've been thinking about this morning. Sadly, Mr. King is not able to join us today, but one of the things he always says, I used to say when I would walk up to him on his front stoop, I'd say, "Oh, it's good to see you, Mel," and he'd be like, "It's good to be seen." And it definitely is good to be seen. You know, it's been really hard for folks. Folks have been working really hard to really respond to today's environment, dealing with different inequities, the COVID, and just all of the problems that we've been dealing with for many decades before, sadly amplified. So we're really here to support folks that are out there doing the work, that are doing community development, that are community building, and that are working together with residents and all of our partners out in the field to really make a better Massachusetts, because we are across the state. So we have a wonderful program today. We're going to hear from a lot of different folks. We have some testimonials. We're here to hear from our sponsor partners, as well as a few staff members, and we will give you guys a chance to connect, because today is about building community. And today is also thinking about the ripple effect of Mel and the Mel King Institute. So we are going to highlight that today with a video. We're also going to have some wonderful poetry, I think you'll find that today's agenda will really kind of bring us back to the spirit and hopefully set us up for a wonderful summer. So I like to talk about our partners, because we do have a lot of them. We had our steering committee members up in the front of the room a little earlier taking a photo, but we have a lot of partners. Our steering committee is made up of practitioners and other partners that work with us on trainings and other initiatives. So we are really trying to stay relevant and connected to folks within the field. And by engaging a spectrum of folks, they're not just all CEOs. We have people that are in different roles that are participating on our steering committee. We have residents now. Yay, on our steering committee, thanks to the Resident Leadership Academy. And I also just want to take a moment to note that today's program is a group effort. It's a team effort. You know, it's a hybrid event. It's the first time we've done this. So if there's any hiccups, you know, excuse us now. But it seems like we're in good hands. We have some support from the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. Emily Cullinan Torres is on our steering committee, and she is also online today. So for folks in the room, she's interacting with the folks online. We're trying to have a double experience here. I had a lot of fun interacting with you all online the past few years, and I didn't want to lose that fun because some of us are going to be here in person. So just letting folks know that you'll be able to, you know, folks have been going over and saying hi to the people that are also online. So with that, I would like to just pause for a moment, because whenever we have the Mel King Institute, we like to be appreciative of where we are. So I'd like to take a moment to pause for land acknowledgement. So this land is territory of the Massachusetts, Pawtucket, and their neighbors, Wampanoag and Nipmuc peoples, who have stewarded this land for hundreds of generations. We extend our respect to the citizens of these nations who live here today and their ancestors who have lived here for over 500 generations, and to all Indigenous people. We also affirm that this acknowledgement is insufficient. It does not undo the harm that has been done and continues to be perpetrated now and against Indigenous people, this land and water. And I'd also just like to note, you know, I grew up in Boston, and I think this land has seen a lot of transformation. And my phone has fallen. They always say, like, once a drink or something falls, you know the party has started, but it's kind of a somber moment. So I do just want to acknowledge, you know, we're in South Boston, and when I was growing up as a young person, I probably wouldn't have come to South Boston, you know, and now I am. So we're kind of rebuilding the space. We're constantly rebuilding. And I'd like Donna Brown, the executive director of South Boston NDC, to kind of talk a little bit about some of the work that they're doing to build equity within South Boston and to really, you know, make sure that resident voices are heard. Donna Brown.
So, welcome to South Boston. It is so great to see you all here today. We are on the edge of the South Boston waterfront, also known as the Seaport, although those of us who are from South Boston don't call it that. It's a label that was imposed upon us by outside forces. So it is the South Boston waterfront, and we're really glad that you're here. Just to orient people geographically, so we're on D Street. If you look in that direction to the north, that is the South Boston waterfront that you've probably read about, driven by, and said, even those of us who live here, who drive by there every week, think, oh my goodness, there's a building there? I didn't even know that was coming. And so, but I hope that you'll take an opportunity as you leave or come back at different time to enjoy this space, the Salon on D, but also to enjoy the South Boston waterfront, which, while it is not perfect, absolutely, and it is not as diverse and equitable as we would all like, it is trying. And I think we are trying as the CDC in this community to make it more diverse, to address not only its affordable housing needs, but its transportation needs, because we have learned so much. And I hope that everybody will learn a lot from the experience that we've had here in South Boston. So you can see your tax dollars at work all around you, from going back to the cleanup of the harbor to all of the infrastructure for the Big Dig and the tunnel to the airport, and this complex here, the Mass Convention Center. So all of that investment has had both positive and negative impacts on the neighborhood, relentless gentrification and displacement in our neighborhood. But at the same time, cities need to change and grow, and the resources that are generated by the real estate development on what was formerly parking lots and warehouses generates income to the city, and provides jobs. And for us, it's how to make all of that accessible to everybody. And I think we've tried to make great strides here in South Boston, being welcoming to everyone, because we certainly don't have a history of that, and we acknowledge that. But we have an opportunity here for everyone to learn from both the successes and the mistakes in the way the Seaport and the South Boston waterfront were designed and how they've been built out. But again, I think it's still a work in progress, and I hope that you'll all take advantage of some of the incredible public spaces and parks and waterfront access and paths along the water that did not exist and would not have existed but for all of the development here. And so I think, that's the trade-off. But I think the great thing about community development corporations is that all of us in our own communities are very adaptable and resilient, and we pivot whenever we need to pivot. And that's what we continue to do here. And I think all of you are great examples of that work across the state. I also want to thank all the supporters of the Mel King Institute, because I know the programs have been invaluable, not only to me, but to my staff, to my board members. These programs that those of you who help fund them do so every year have really make a difference in increasing capacity at the staff and board level and in these communities where we all operate. So thank you and welcome. And please, as you leave, take a look at our beautiful neighborhood.
Thank you so much. What's amazing with this area is that there's bunnies. I don't know if folks that are here in the house that have noticed, but for people that are at home, there's little lawn on D bunnies. So that just shows the power. When you create some green space in the middle of the city, what can happen? Thank you so much again, Donna. And now I'd like to just get a sense of who's in the room as we continue our welcome here. Tiana, our Mel King Institute Program Associate, is gonna lead us from an activity that's gonna be, we can participate here in person as well as online.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is so wonderful to see so many people here and on Zoom. So I'm just really excited to be here and to celebrate the Mel King Institute. I'm here to introduce an activity. It's a raise your hand activity. So for folks who are on Zoom, you could use the raise hand feature, or you could raise your hand. For folks in the room, please raise your hand up high if any of these statements apply to you. So to begin, please raise your hand if you are coming from outside of Boston, Massachusetts. Okay, great. Please raise your hand if you have never been to a Mel King Institute breakfast. Okay, we have some new folks in the room. That's great. Great. Please raise your hand if you ate breakfast before coming today. Okay. Early mornings, early mornings. Please raise your hand if you have had the honor of meeting Mel King. Wow. Awesome. Great. Please raise your hand if you are here as a sponsor or partner. Okay. Nice. Please raise your hand if you have attended a Mel King Institute training. Lots of folks in the room. Great. Please raise your hand if you are a part of the Resident Leadership Academy. Great. Please raise your hand if you have attended more than 2 Mel King Institute breakfasts. Okay, we have folks returning. That's great. Please raise your hand if community building is at the core of your work. Excellent. Please raise your hand if advancing leadership is a value of your work. Excellent. That is all for the raise your hand activity. It was amazing to see who's in the room, what experiences we all bring to the table here. So I want to thank you all, and I'll pass it back off to Sharonda.
Isn't that great? So yeah, we have a lot of folks that have been to many breakfasts, and our first speaker has been to many breakfasts. His hand was going up a lot, and I'd like to introduce Quincy Miller. He's the president and vice chair at Eastern Bank, and he's been to the breakfast. He's a serial, yeah, that's funny. He's a serial breakfast participant. Thank you, Quincy.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Well, I'm thrilled to be here with all of you. This is actually my 3rd breakfast, but I got to kick off on behalf of Eastern Bank, the last in-person one that we had, which was in 2019, and the first virtual one. So I'm glad to be back here again with all of you. So I had a bunch of prepared remarks that my team went through and sent to me. And then on the way here, I decided to sort of change it all up. So I put a couple notes here on my phone. So hopefully they're not watching, on TV, and they're going to realize they did all that work for nothing. But really, so on behalf of Eastern Bank, first and foremost, before I get started, I want to thank the Mel King Institute and everybody in the room for the impact that you're having in our communities. We have a long, proud relationship with Mel and the Institute, and we will continue to be there each and every year in support of this outstanding organization. You know, one of the themes today it talks about the ripple effect, and Mel's and the Institute's impact that is had, as I said, on our communities is tremendous. And that impact on both private, public, and nonprofit leaders, as we heard some of them here today raise their hands, is tremendous in moving our communities forward. And that ripple effect really creates tidal waves when we have everyone in this room together fighting for improving the communities where we live and where we work. And the work that you do, I just want to touch on a couple of things, is really tremendous. And I can't go through all of the facets that the Institute creates impact around, but if you look at affordable housing, it is probably, and I've been in banking 25 years, And I can never remember a time when it has been harder to afford a home than it is right now in this moment. In fact, if you look a year ago to today, the cost difference in a monthly mortgage on a 30-year mortgage from 1 year ago to today, it actually is 50% more. That's the increase in the housing values and the increase in rates that have happened over this past year. Think about that. I mean, we talk about the work that we're being done here. I mean, in 1 year, it's 50% harder to afford a home. And so the work around affordable housing that the Institute does couldn't be any more important. And, you know, we're proud on behalf of Eastern Bank. I know my community development lending team is here. I know Pam's online and Yo May's here with us. You know, we're proud to have committed $2 billion towards affordable housing here across our communities through our community development lending team, because the work that they do each and every day in partnership with organizations like the Institute and many others makes a difference in our communities. And we're proud also to yet again make a commitment to fund another $250,000 in CITC tax credits to help continue to advance this work, because it's never been more important. The work that the Institute's doing around economic empowerment, so you can't afford a home if you don't deliver and generate economic empowerment. So whether that's life-sustaining, meaningful wage jobs, particularly supporting small businesses of color who hire people of color within our communities and creating those jobs. Again, coming through the pandemic, and as we sit here today, really, arguably, probably has never been more important, as these businesses, so many that we lost over the last 3 years, and the new ones that have begun need more support than ever. And again, at Eastern, you know, we're proud to stand committed to that effort. Starting 5 years ago, when we committed $10 million to our business equity initiative to advance Black and Latino businesses across the Commonwealth. That's now 5 years deep, and we continue to make those investments because we know how important it is to be able to help build wealth and jobs within our communities. And then finally, around racial justice and the work that the Institute does in advancing racial justice in an era where there's probably been more commitments ever made and less of them actually followed through with. The work that you're all doing and the companies that are aligned here in support of the Institute and the people that are aligned here in support of the Institute, this is the time when we have to make change, and we have to hold public entities accountable. We have to hold private companies accountable to creating equity in our communities. And so the Institute is at the center of driving all of this forward and is really what makes it so special. So, you know, so many of you, like so many of you, don't just talk the talk, but we put our blood, sweat, and tears into making this change happen. And we're really proud to stand here alongside of you. We're proud as an entire community to stand on the shoulders of Mel King and the impact that he has made across the Commonwealth. So on behalf of Eastern Bank and all of our team, thank you very much. And we're proud to be here with you today.
I knew this was going to happen. Can somebody lower your thank you again, Quincy, for sharing and being our partner. We really appreciate Eastern Bank as a partner. And, you know, I keep telling Joe, when can we get David Ortiz here, Quincy? When can we get David Ortiz here? You know, like we got a lawn and everything. This would have been perfect for him to come. So Eastern Bank is a great sponsor. And I'd like to take a moment to just acknowledge all of our sponsors. Our founding sponsors are List Boston, MACDC, and Mass Housing, and our platinum level sponsors for this year, Keene Charitable Foundation, JP Morgan Chase and Company, Mass Housing Investment Corporation, Mass Housing Partnership, NeighborWorks America, PNC Bank, Silicon Valley Bank, Wynn Companies. And for gold, we have M&T Bank, MGCC, NAOP, Massachusetts. For silver, we have Cambridge Trust, CDAC, CHAPA, Dorchester Bay EDC, Harbor Light Partners, Klein Kornig, LLP, NEI General Contracting, Needham Bank, and POA. And for our bronze category, Ann Silverman Consulting, Diane Gordon Consulting, Licata Risk Advisors, Munkenbeck Consulting, and the TD Charitable Foundation. Can we give a big round of applause to all of those partners? So I'm really excited about this next element of our program. Because Mel is a poet and really appreciates poetry, you've always had poetry as part of this, this breakfast, and we try to feature different poets. This year's poet is fantastic. She has a book or two books, and funny enough, because the world is how it is, a friend of mine invited me to an event, and I went and heard her read, and it was this great community event by the Jar, I think, organization. And so I was able to experience her. And then I'm like, oh, she's coming to our breakfast. So I would like to welcome Portia Olayiwola, who is an established poet. She has a couple of books out, and I believe is the poet laureate for the city of Boston, right? Yeah, among other things. So Portia.
Good morning, everyone. How's it going? Good. I feel so honored, humbled to be here and be a part of this living and live legacy. This poem attempts to capture the history of Black Boston. It begins with an epigraph from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that reads, "Boston must become a leader among cities. The vision of a new Boston must extend into the heart of Roxbury and into the mind of every child. Boston must conduct the creative experiments in the abolition of ghettos, which will point the way to other communities." It's called Black Beacon, or History as a Crown of Sonnets with Disjointed Repetition as Proof. The poem opens with a land acknowledgement. Colonizers conquered and killed. Massachusetts belongs to the Wampanoag Nation and belongs still. The poem positions itself at the helix of desire and time. The first mass group of Africans arrived in Boston on a slave ship christened the Desire. Native folks were traded for Black folks who toiled soil in the Bahamas. 20 years gone, and Bostonian Ken, a man Christian after the city itself, is the first Black to buy in Dorchester, forging a home for those of us who did not make the plantation of one. Here, the poem introduces the poet as both kin and keeper of memory. The first Black poet was a slave the Wheatleys bought off a ship, Christian the Phyllis. The Wheatleys crystallized the girl as the ship, and the girl wields her master's language, becomes the threat. If you give a slave a book, she will write one instead. The poet or the poem note the irony of the tongue in which the history is forged. For proof, the first casualty of the revolution was a Black Bostonian. 2 centuries gone, and both the people and the poem can hear the shot coiling the globe. Thus, the poem coils the past with present, doctrinizes a perpetual state of Black being. For proof, we stay living. For proof, we be not dying, despite the forging. For proof, take the Haydens, who kept gunpowder under the deck in case a slave catcher tried to try it. Stay forming a freedom house from slave shack, ready to run away, rescue, riot the court's history of Black women, batting for Black women. Combahee River collected Pens, blooming pistols, General Tubman ready stay, David Walker appealing a fight, girls with Afro puffs galvanizing the march, desegregated schools, bus and busted, city on a hill, city hall, and all for proof. First ladies of Roxbury and Mel Kings for proof, Presley, Boiling, Trotter for proof, first nurse, first genius, first people of South and West Ends for proof we stay the proof. Pedestal, prodigy, North Star still and still North Star gazing. Here, the poem refers to descendancy or ascension, reminds the people Black Boston was born of desire. From the Latin desidera, translated to from the stars, meaning from the boughs rose bodies of light. Us, descendants of beacons, us, stars cloaked and dark, meaning still us rise, meaning still us go, still us God, still us gone, conquer the night. Thank you all.
Wow. So thank you so much for that. I would like to just pause and just let that settle in the room. I think there was a lot represented in that piece that we can all connect with in terms of our different experiences, is probably also the work that we do. So thank you again, Portia, for writing that. Now I would like to introduce our Mel King Institute coordinator, Leah Downing, who's been with us for 2 years, doing a fabulous job. And she's gonna talk a little bit about the video that she worked on.
It is my pleasure to introduce this year's Mel King Institute breakfast video. As many of you know, the breakfast video is a trademark of our event every year, and we're very excited to share it this year. This video in particular is special to me because I started this job in the middle of the pandemic and did a lot of this job remotely. So I was able to, for this video, go out and interview folks in person at their CDCs, at their organizations, was able to interview them and connect at a deeper level, which is something that we love to do here at the Mel King Institute. So that was really special for me. In terms of the theme, it's Mel King's legacy, the ripple effect. And what I really wanted to do with this was I really wanted to take a step back, right? We can get so bogged down by the day-to-day of community development work. And I really wanted to ask, like, why are we doing this? Why are we passionate about it? Why is this work so important, and how does this impact the lives of our program participants and the community development field in general? And then in addition to that, Mel King's values really serve as a guiding principle for us every day. His values such as social justice for change, lifelong learning, and community empowerment, just to name a few. So I just really wanted to honor his legacy as a way to ground us for when the going gets tough. So with keeping that in mind, please enjoy.
It is absolutely incredible to think that one person could have so much impact and effect on so many people across so many places through so many time periods, and is still absolutely on the cutting edge of the future. And we could not know that without understanding the deep history that brings us all here, but also Mel's role in helping us to say, no, there's a different path. And it is our responsibility and our obligation to make that possible.
So I first learned about the Mel King Institute through LISC AmeriCorps. They have a professional relationship, and they allowed us to come take classes I'm not sure of the exact name of the course, but it was about like the back end of housing, where they do the construction part and what it takes to put up a subsidized unit complex. There's a lot of ins and outs, and there's a lot of advocates that, you know, email me personally or through RAF status that says, hey, listen, can a subsidized client do this? Can a subsidized client have this? What are the terms for like market rate? And I feel like knowing those aspects and taking what I learned from those courses and taking what I learned now helps me help them understand it better, about the rules, about the knowledge, and it educates them as well.
I started out taking the class about being a tenant representative on the Housing Authority Board. We talked about radical inclusion. That's one of my favorite tenets or values that Mel King talks about. In a tenant organization, our power actually comes from representing everybody in the building. One of the great sayings I got out of the Mel King Institute was, don't go up, go out. And, you know, that is like, if you have a problem or if you want something, don't go up, go talk about it with the other tenants, go bring it up with them, see if it's important to them, get them on board.
The first time I learned about the Mel King Institute, I was actually in banking, took a class with the Mel King Institute to understand why subsidies were needed in order to build affordable housing. I wanted to move from the investment side to the development side at that point in time. And I think the Mel King Institute made that introduction for me and allowed me to make that transition. For me, the Mel King Institute was around, I thought it was around training and development, around community development and real estate. I didn't realize how deep they were in the racial equity inclusion. And then when I became a CEO, it was much more evident with the racial equity pledge. And right away, we jumped on board. Our initial trainings was with the board, myself and staff, around how to make this place, Somerville Community Corporation, more inclusive. We started having dialogues with our tenants around improving their tenancy. And I think we've been more engaged because of the training that we received.
Mel King is my buddy, my hero, my inspiration, my academic muse, my planning muse, my activist, historian par excellence, all that. And also I was Mel King's Friday tennis buddy. Lots of different ways of knowing Mel, and all just so joyful and always full of learning and lessons and energy. So central to Mel's vision and work and lifetime of activism has been a fundamental question, asking us to consider in whose interest is this work happening? Is this project happening? Are we doing this to serve ourselves, to serve others? Who's being served by this particular project or initiative, and who is not being served? That question alone is a way to electrify a room and to get us on course. Mel's work in the field of community development has been defining of the sector, not only here, but even how we think nationally and internationally about what it means to provide people with the resources, the decision-making authority, and the space to dream big future dreams and make those dreams come true.
Thank you, Leah. That was a wonderful video. I'd like to also acknowledge that some of the folks in the video are in the house. Just want to like give a wave, stand up to some folks. Go over and talk to them afterwards, get to know them. Yeah, stand up. For folks that are here, we're going to have some networking and maybe some Jenga out there on the lawn. So, you know, look up these folks after. I do want to note that Carolyn Crockett's book is for sale, Frugal Books, at the table. And now I would like to just acknowledge our founding partners. You know, we started this 13 years ago, lucky 13 years ago, actually more than 13 years ago, because you have to plan a program before you start a program. And Mass Housing and LISC were there from the beginning as founding partners for this program, which is really important. It's, we got the trifecta there of Mass Housing, MACDC, and LISC, and it's a good foundation, right? So we're gonna hear from our founding partners. I'm going to introduce them both, and then they'll hand it off. First, we'll hear from Tony Richards from Mass Housing, and he's going to pass it off to Marilyn Sanchez from LISC. Tony.
So I'm excited to be here. Before I get into the remarks, so I was dropping my daughter off at school this morning. She's 11. So she's now having like a social awakening. And I was telling her where I was going and who Mel King was. And I realized that around 15 years ago, I was executive director at ABCD in Roxbury. And I was having like some buyer's remorse about what I wanted to do in my career, right? I majored in business. I worked in sales. I thought I was going to transition into finance. And I was like, yo, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. So I met with Mel at the Haley House in Roxbury. And what he shared with me that day, I didn't realize that it changed the trajectory of my thinking. And he told me, I expect two things out of you. And Mel's kind of funny because he's kind of like coy, leans back and he looks at you, right? And he's like, yo, I expect two things. I expect you to be great and I expect you to do great things for others. And at that time, I didn't realize how it changed the trajectory of my career and my work and impact, but I'm excited for that moment. And I'm also excited to be here today. So as many of you know, Mass Housing's mission is to confront the housing challenges facing the Commonwealth and improve the lives of its people. And the focus of the Equitable Business Development Division, which is my role, which is fairly new to the agency, is an evolution on the agency's ambitious yet attainable goals to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion. Equitable business development is focused on being intentional around two main components. First, how the agency earns our money, with the goal of increasing the number of BIPOC homeowners and affordable housing borrowers by creating and promoting programs that significantly impact disadvantaged communities. Secondly, we're focused on how we are spending our money by providing advancement opportunities for diverse businesses in focus areas such as goods and services, construction, and property management, as well as within our own workforce in areas such as recruitment, culture, and growth. And adding these two components together, we essentially ensure that we're leveraging the affordable housing ecosystem to create housing stability, narrow racial homeownership gaps, and create wealth building opportunities for BIPOC people and communities. So I'm honored to be here today, on behalf of Mass Housing, not only as a financial supporter of the Mel King Institute, but as a co-conspirer and a partner around advancing racial justice, social change, and equity. And with that said, it's my honor and privilege to introduce Marilyn Sanchez from LISC, who has been a leader around fighting for financial stability, quality housing, living wage jobs, and thriving neighborhoods. So thank you, and here's Marilyn.
Good morning, everybody. Like Tony said, my name is Marilyn. I'm a LISC staff. I represent LISC and also on the Alliance Committee, and also sit on the board of Nuestra Comunidad, so all around community member. I'm so happy to represent LISC, our executive director, Karen Kelleher, and the colleagues today at Mel King's 13th breakfast. I actually think that I've been to every one of the breakfasts. And I was actually taking pictures from the balcony on Eva's balcony that year. That was a nice event. LISC is proud to be one of the founders of the Mel King Institute. LISC, MACDC, and Mass Housing saw the need for this wonderful resource that has been so instrumental in development of many in the field. Between policy work and supporting the mission of Melking Institute, LIST has stepped up to collaborate in the growth of in the ecosystem of the CDC world, along with partners that are present here today. The Community Development Innovation Forum being one good example of that. I have attended many of the Melking Institute trainings for my own personal development and alongside LISC AmeriCorps members that attend these wonderful trainings. I come from a time when you were pretty much thrown into the community work and you didn't know what you were doing, but you had to figure it out yourself. But Melking Institute has changed that, where now you have many trainings you can take and learn and successfully engage in the community work. It is through the eyes of the LISC AmeriCorps members that I see how important these trainings are. They are eager to learn and so grateful to attend Melking Institute trainings. LISC has a National AmeriCorps program, but only the LISC AmeriCorps from the Boston office end up getting a certificate at the end of their service. Melking Institute is a national model and the envy of our peers in other LISC offices. Before I go, I also wanted to remind folks that LISC has sent out invites to apply for funds from its federal Section 4 capacity building program for community development and affordable housing. And applications are on our website. You can contact me. You can contact our Deputy Director, Derek Lumpkins, for that if you have any questions on that. And please accept my congratulations, LISC congratulations to the Melking Institute on 13 years of learning, innovating, and networking across the Massachusetts community development field. Thank you.
Thanks, Marilyn. Thank you, Tony. Love our partners. It's funny because we're also well connected. I was at an event that I helped launch last week. The Melking Institute's been doing a lot of different partnering, which has been a great part of our work, is to be able to advise and partner with other programs that are doing great work. One of those programs was the Builders of Color and the NIOP mentoring program, and Tony Richards is a mentor in that program. Of course he is, because he's a superstar. So it's like, yes, we're all connected. So it's nice to know that when we're partnering with other people, we're all, it makes a stronger web or a stronger connection between us. So I would just like to appreciate our founding partners again, and just take a moment to share what I like to call the state of the Institute, which will the state of the Institute. And I think we've done very well. We've kind of like come out the other side. I think we're really trying to figure out now as we move forward with our partners and our participants and our residents, the best way to do our activities. So this is an example. We're trying hybrid. We want to bring people together as much as possible. We've done a number of in-person events this year, and we continue to do that, but we'll also continue to offer online offerings because we've been able to reach folks throughout the state. They've been asking for this for years. So we're going to keep that, people. We're going to keep the virtual, but we also want to bring people together. I'd like to just talk about some of our accomplishments in our program, our yearbook. We talk about our accomplishments, and even with this environment, we were able to reach nearly 700 participants with our trainings. We had nearly 50 instructors and presenters on board. And I like to say we work with from practitioners to professors. So we have people with varying levels of lived and expert experience that contribute to our curriculum. And that's what makes it, I think that's what makes it more effective for people, because they're able to connect. I do want to note that we're constantly partnering with people. I was proud to bring a new series this spring. We did a city planning series with Metropolitan Area Planning Council, with the Planners of Color Network, and with Sarah Horsley and Renee Mardonis doing the last piece. And it was a really great partnership between several organizations. And we hope to do more of that as we move forward. We also hope to do more around the board level, because we're doing a lot on the resident side, which Sarah will talk about in a moment, but we'd like to reach more, do some more targeted board trainings and make those more accessible. We're thinking about how we can do more online video modules, little like learning segments, knowing that people can't always come in person. So we're trying to be responsive that way. Our Alliance for Racial Equity is obviously supporting the pledge, but we've been doing a lot of mentoring. So our mentoring program was quiet this year as we advised other mentoring programs that were doing really good work. And that was fun. It's great that we can add value to other people's work, that we can partner with people and bring Mel King Institute values and make an even better partnership. So we were also able to do that with the NeighborWorks Strong Leaders program. It was a great experience to partner and train and help launch a mentoring program within their larger leadership development program. And we will continue to do mentoring, and next year, hopefully, we will be launching our own mentoring program focusing on community organizers and real estate project managers, and having a dialogue between those two roles while we're simultaneously supporting their individual growth and advancement within their careers. Lastly, I would like to note our certificate program. We have a certificate program in which Leah runs, and it's a cohort model. Folks apply to be in the program. They take 11 courses over 18 months. It's like a running enrollment. It's individualized. So people finish at different times. I do think we have a couple of those graduates in the room. Can you guys stand up and wave? At least one of them's here, so stand up. I'm gonna call your name. Helen. Yes. And Helen's a great example of how, like, interconnected we are. I'm on a committee with Helen. Helen's in the certificate program, but I'm also on a committee with Helen as well. They're doing great work on the housing and, oh man, the acronym I can't. Housing and Racial Equity Coalition. Yes, housing. So I would just like to end here and encourage folks to look out for more of our fall offerings. And for a little bit more on the other side of the Mel King Institute, the Resident Leadership Academy, we have a lot of residents represented. I'd like to introduce Sarah Barnes.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah Burns from the Resident Leadership Academy. So at the Resident Leadership Academy, we train community members to build their power and voice so they can have more say over the things that happen to them. How do you guys feel about that? Is that a good idea? All right. Thank you. You passed. So I'm really here to introduce Jada Tarbutton. She's going to speak about her experiences in our program. She's a resident and board member at Far Away Northampton, the Northampton Housing Authority. So I want to welcome her. So we've been training public housing residents for over 5 years now. We've trained, I think, close to 500 folks in well over 100 housing authorities. And then in September, we launched our expansion, and now we work with CDCs and other organizations as well. So in our first year, we've been really thrilled to work with the Chinatown Community Land Trust, the Newport, Rhode Island Health Equity Zone. So we are a multi-state now, the neighborhood developers in La Colaborativa in Chelsea. And this summer, we're working with Asian CDC and Nuestra Comunidad. So we've had such a great lineup in our first year. So thanks to all our partners, many of you in the room. And I just want to give a shout out as well to the other residents who are here. We had folks travel in from Brockton and Salem and Springfield and Boston and Belchertown. So just big thanks to every community member who's ever given their volunteer time. It's a special gift that we just want to honor and lift up. So with that, I'm going to toss it over to Jada. Get ready, everybody. Jada from Northampton.
Jada is my name. It's a nickname. It's a combo name of my grandparents, my grandmothers who are not here, but officially My name is Joella Tarbutton-Springfield, like the town that I don't live in, that I used to work in. But Jada, if you know, bill collectors call me the other name. Jada is for friends, so whatever is great. As she alluded to, I'm from a really very progressive town called Northampton, and I am a part of one of the first resident board members of Northampton Housing Authority. And also, I just want to say too, is that I'm a proud member of the Survival Center Food Pantry in Northampton, and also the YMCA and the Ward 3 board member of that. So I want to give a shout out to them, and I hope y'all are watching. It's very interesting that I'm here. This is my first time here, and I have to tell you, I didn't know anything about Mel King at all. We're over there. We're like the stepsisters, the Cinderella way over there. We don't really know a lot about this. At least I didn't. And it's very interesting because I think maybe Mel, they sent me some in the mail and I thought, oh, it's just camera. I'm not giving what little money I do have to someone. I didn't realize that. And then about maybe 2 or 3 months ago, I was feeling so isolated because on the board member, the powers that be, names later call me, but the powers that be would basically say, and I was really proud to do that because I've been an activist and an actress basically all my life. And for other folks, I've been portraying Ida B. Wells Barnett for over 20 years. So thank you, yes. But even with that, even in that progressive town, there's these differences. There's a difference with the wealth of knowledge there and all the progressive people, and then there's public housing. And it's just like you wonder what decade I'm in and what region of the country I'm in. You can probably tell I have a bit of a Southern accent because I'm from Texas. And so it's very interesting when I got on the board, I think we probably have the most board of commissioners. I think we have 7 and everybody else has 5 because the city council said we need more residents on the board. We really do. And here comes me. And actually I'm going into my second term. And when I was there, it's very interesting. The powers that be said, well, you can't talk to the tenants, you can't do this, you can't participate in that because you'll be getting into my job and you can't do that. And for a while, and it was 18 months, I felt, at least for the first year, so isolated, which isn't me. I can't even sit over there and be quiet. So I'm gonna be on the board and be quiet and not communicate with people and not know what's going on. But that's how it was like clip the wings to the point that I was about to get off the board. And then just so happened somebody from another state, Maryland, said something, and I wrote to them, it's like, help me, can you help me, please, what do I do? And then they let me go into their Zoom link and they said, you know, you have something like that here. There's Nairo and Mel King. I was like, oh, that scammer, I mean, the one that's a real thing. Oh my goodness. So then, well, I definitely not, but you know, emails, you get them too much. But it's so interesting. So since then, I can't tell you how my life has changed, the tenant's life has changed since we came upon Mel King Institute. I just have to tell you, get this imagery. It's like I was in a jungle and Mel King gave me a map. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's the fresh water. Oh, you can eat these plants. Oh, and it's not a jungle, it's like an enchanted garden now. And the interesting thing now, as we start to organize, the reason why I say that, the map is because I did my first resident board training and it was amazing. And with the groups, I started seeing other board members from other places through Zoom. We would communicate and it's like, what, y'all are doing that too? I just thought it was us having these problems. And so that communication, you just didn't feel like you were alone. And I certainly didn't feel isolated. And just 2 days ago, we started the resident leadership training. So it's not just me with the knowledge and what's going on and the connections, it's now giving it to the residents. And I have to tell you, the residents, they were splintered to the point where they said, we don't even need it. We don't even be together. People can't get along. Everybody goes in there. Their leaders, they're just dating each other there. Now we're coming together as a force. And we have about, I think, 8 different properties and we're all organizing. So it's actually kind of spectacular. So I really have to thank Sarah and everyone else who are helping us come together. And I also have to say one thing with Maria. I remember May was National Mental Health Awareness. And we did a Zoom link and it was so amazing because it's all the stuff we've been feeling and to have people say that it was so healing. So on so many ways, from the knowledge, from the emotional support, from the connection, and then, you know, putting us up in a Airbnb last night. Where's Nicole? I don't want to look at you, what you told me last night. Where'd she go? All right, so I won't do that. Anyway, I only have 5 minutes because Sarah is like the people at the Apollo. She's going to get me. So I just want to say that it's been really pretty wonderful and all the great things that are going on. And you can imagine someone with me with a big mouth. I'm telling everybody, I'm going to the Ward 3 and I'm saying, y'all need these people. You need to know about this. I had Sarah send me all kinds of pamphlets and everybody I'm going out to, not just in public housing, for private housing. So I tell you what, I'm just learning a lot of stuff here, but you give me to next year, I'll be knowing everything y'all be knowing about me too, because I'm going to speak and I'm going to tell everybody about all you good people doing good stuff in this world. So I certainly appreciate it. And so that is all I'm going to say because I'll go on and on and on. But get my number and give me a call. All right, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's give her another round of applause. I'd just like to take a moment to thank all of our speakers, the folks at home, everybody here, as we welcome for our closing segment, 2 more poems from Portia. What a treat. Portia.
That was great. I knew I was supposed to come up next, but I was so pumped up from that one. And that was just lost in the sauce, if you will. I'm gonna read a poem from the poet Mel King, if that's okay. And it is called In Fellowship. I want to write a poem. That's my goal. To tell about a model created in the image of the sum of all parts, about change, small. I want to write a song. That's my role. To sing about a medium formed in the sigh when he rested, about growth, little. I want to tell a story. That's my challenge. To tell about a creation molded out of nothing, about nucleus, atom. I want to make some music. That's my choice. To trumpet out the message of the sounds, out of the glory, about the splendor, about the power, live. I want to say a prayer. That's my pleasure. About a joyful noise from the breath of life to say thank you for giving, for loving. And that comes from the poet Mel King. And the title of the book is Love is the Question and the Answer. This last poem is an Afrofuturistic reimagination of history. People know the story of Dorothy Dandridge. Yes, people know this person. She was a famous Black actress, singer. She played Carmen Jones. People say she was before her time, but she was before the civil rights movement, right? Which means she didn't get all of the opportunities afforded to her. And there is this legend, this urban legend that says she went to sing at this hotel and she was like, you know, they were giving her a tour and she was like, oh, I can't wait to get into the pool. And they said, if you get in the pool, we'll have to drain it because you're a Black person and we'll have to re-clean it. And then there's this myth, this legend that she later on, she walked past and she like dipped her toe into the water and then that they also did drain it. But again, this is an Afrofuturistic reimagination of that story. Adrienne Marie Brown says all organizing is science fiction, right? So I like to think that Mel King was also an is an Afrofuturist, right? Or is a person who says a thing and then does a thing, and we can, write the futures that we want to see. This is called Dorothy Dips a Toe into a Pool After Being Warned the water would be drained should a Black person swim in it, 1953, Las Vegas. And all at once, without and within each well of wet everywhere swelled dry. The woman in the shower, shriveling, shaken bare, the cook steaming at the sink's faulty faucet, the rust keening and dragging itself through pipes. Chalices unfilled, air wilts the face, moisture abandons the flesh, the breath, the girth, water unflows, reruns away like blood from a wound. The swimming pool, brimming moments ago, now hold mothers who hold babies dry sobbing at its base. Guests at the last frontier lay leisurely, their bodies brittle on the deck. The black spell is the yes cascading over a no. The anti to the anti, all kept from me in spite, shall spite keep from you with force. And in another land, unpromised, the color blue opens and spreads to blanket each eye. Dorothy stands at the water's ledge. Her curls and linen lie loose. Her skin, cool and sweet, sings a song unsang but known. Dorothy, a tall tide, coaxing herself into herself. Dorothy, a good curse, moves into waves wade at her waist. The dancing wet rushes together at her hips. She cups the clear in her palms and splashes upward. Dorothy raises her arms in ocean rain, urges the body to name itself religion. Dorothy splatters and ripples bring forth a sanctum. Each droplet is plenty for the city's south side. A shower gives itself to the children on 83rd, playing at the hydrant. A spray fills the pot of collards on a back burner. Another flows through a school's fountain once lined with lead. Dorothy swishes water into the sugar breeze and it lingers in air. No one thirsts. Dew demands a mother cease to grow. Moisture soothes a lonely throat. Dorothy raises the ocean, and oh, I want to tell you how her hands cradled full drops toward the sky, how the water could hardly stand to let her go. Thank you all so much.
Wow, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. We're so blessed that you were able to join us today. And what a great way to end an event where we're talking about ripples. So really terrific. I am Joe Kreisberg. I am the Executive Director of the Mass Association of CDCs, and Sharonda invited me to close out the program. And I want to do that by first repeating another Melism that we talk about a lot at our office, which is teamwork makes the dream work. And that was certainly true for this event. So I just want to thank everybody on our team who worked so hard. What a great job. You got the weather right, the food, everything. So thank you to the team. I think you met all of them as they came up here, but also I want to point out Nadine over there at the table, and John and Emily, and of course, everyone on staff pitched in. So just one closing thing. So 2022 is a big year for me, for us, because we have so many anniversaries to celebrate. It is the 10th anniversary of Governor Patrick signing the Community Investment Tax Credit into law. It is the 20th anniversary of me being the executive director. It's the 30th anniversary of my marriage to Dina Brownstein. Sorry, couldn't put that in there. And it's, of course, the 40th anniversary of MACDC as an organization, which we will be celebrating with all of you on October 29th in Worcester, Polar Park. Be there or be square. It's going to be a really great event. But there's one other anniversary that I actually came up here to talk about, which is that it is the 20th anniversary this year for Sharonda Almeida at MACDC. And so you might be doing the math. Wait a minute, 20 years. Mel King Institute is 13 years. Yeah, well, there's that problem too for all of us. But Sharonda started out working on the Rakan-Hajan Initiative for Community Organizing. But there's a connection because both are rooted in these core values of community, community leadership, resident empowerment, and absolutely one of the best decisions I think that I ever made in my 20 years was asking Sharonda to run the King Institute and then getting out of the way. So thank you, Sharonda. Great job. And with that, have a great afternoon and a great summer. Oh, and hang out. Let's play chess. Bye, everyone.